On Sunday, November 21st, Darrell Brooks, a racist black supremacist, cowardly drove his vehicle into a Christmas parade in Wisconsin, killing 6 people, ranging in ages from 8 to 81, and wounding over 60 others. At approximately 4:40 p.m., Brooks broke through the barricades and he drove directly straight into the parade route, hitting as many people as he possibly could. According to one officer on the scene, Darrell Brooks' attack intentional. He seemed to swerve into people but avoid vehicles. A police officer working the scene of the Waukesha Christmas parade attack believes suspect Darrell Brooks carried out an intentional act to strike and hurt as many people as possible, as the SUV he was driving that day appeared to be intentionally moving side to side, according to a newly filed criminal complaint. Before the attack, witnesses say they saw Brooks engaging in what appeared to be a knife fight. The police did fire shots at the driver after he drove into the crowd, but they had to stop doing that in order to stop potentially injuring any bystanders. Darrell Brooks has a criminal history that spans 22 years. His prior charges include battery, domestic violence, cocaine possession, a sex crime, and resisting arrest. And according to the New York Times, Brooks had previously served 2 jail sentences and participated in mandatory anger management programs. And at the time of the parade attack, there were active warrants out for his arrest in Nevada and Georgia. The Times reports that 6 days before the parade attack, Brooks was released on bail from a criminal case in which he was accused of trying to run over a woman with a maroon Ford Escape. That woman was the mother of his child, and for that violent crime, he got out on a $1,000 bail. Christmas parade crash suspect's bail raises questions in Wisconsin. The suspect in Christmas parade crash in suburban Milwaukee that killed 5 people was free on a $1,000 bail posted just 2 days before the deadly event. The death of an 8-year-old boy was confirmed on Tuesday, now raising that number to 6. Black supremacist Darrell Brooks rapped about being a terrorist and called for violence against white people. The black supremacist ex-con charged in the death of 6 people at a Wisconsin Christmas parade rapped about being a terrorist and posted online that Hitler was right to have killed Jews because the Negroes are the true Hebrews, while also calling for violence against white people. Darrell Brooks Jr., age 39, is charged with 5 counts of first-degree intentional homicide and has more charges pending, according to prosecutors in Waukesha, Wisconsin, after 8-year-old Jackson Sparks was named by relatives as the 6th victim to have died from his injuries after Brooks allegedly plowed into a Christmas parade. More than 60 people were injured in the massacre, which has already become a non-news among mainstream outlets. On Twitter, Cernovich here writes, "1 person died in the Charlottesville car attack. 6 have died already in the Christmas parade attack in Waukesha, which was carried out by a man who had posted anti-Trump diatribes to social media and shared his support for BLM-related causes." Brooks, an aspiring rapper, left quite the social media footprint in which he posted black nationalistic rhetoric, support for Black Lives Matter, and he shared memes targeting Trump supporter Kanye West. And as you can see here, all the nasty things he's saying, his support for Black Lives Matter, his hatred to Kanye West for supporting Trump, and also, Brooks also shared a meme about Adolf Hitler, which claims that Negroes are the true Hebrews and that America has moved false white Jews into a state of Israel. Jack Posebic writes here on Twitter, "A psychopath with years of black Hebrew Israelite and anti-white social media posts was just arrested for plowing through a Christmas parade hitting over 60 people, but the media wants to talk about Kyle Rittenhouse making a hand gesture one time." He also rapped about being a terrorist and a killer in the city, according to The Sun, citing lyrics Brooks posted online. Wannabe rapper Brooks has said, "Yeah, we terrorists and killers in the city," according to his song Loudmouth. The track posted to Brooks' SoundCloud page under the name Math Boy Fly goes on, I hope you're right with God, cause casket with what you heading for. Brooks also wrote an anti-Donald Trump rap and declared F the pigs. It emerged on Monday. One of his songs included the lyrics, they gonna need a cleaner for this blank. We did all my killers Gacy when them bodies hid. The Sun reported in another song, Brooks can be seen waving a gun in front of what appears to be the red SUV used in the attack. Wisconsin police said on Sunday that there's no evidence that there was a terrorist attack. And even though this is the case, here's the headline that CNN decided to run with on the same day that this black supremacist attacked people. There's nothing more frightening in America today than an angry white man. Do you see the issue here, guys? When it's a black man who supports Black Lives Matter who drives into a crowd, it's not terrorism, that's just an accident. And we're just hearing nothing but crickets from the mainstream media. But when a white man drives his car into a crowd, like what happened in Charlottesville, the left pounces and makes claims like Antifa are the good guys and everyone on the right is the enemy. I confronted film director Kevin Smith about exactly that, and listen to his answer here that is so typical of somebody who gets all their information directly from the mainstream media outlets.
What's the current state of the left-right divide in America? We've seen a split into these kind of different factions that now the alt-right and the supposed, Antifa on the left. We're seeing clashes in places like Berkeley where, freedom of speech is kind of being stifled by the left, and then there's these white supremacists on the right. What do you make of this current, divide that's going on in America? Where do you think this is stemming from?
Wait, I'm sorry, I'm going back. Did you say the freedom of speech was being stifled by the left?
Yes, it seems that there
depends if you think hate speech is free speech. Like, in America we celebrate people are free to say what they want to and what the country was founded on, but that doesn't include hate speech, and there are laws in place for that sort of thing. And oddly enough, we've kind of reached a climate in the U.S. where we're seeing activity that you haven't seen in quite some time and don't really associate with the current version of the United States. Disheartening, but all one can do is kind of remember the facts. And right now, the facts in such a case like Charlottesville is a bunch of people descended on a small liberal arts college town to start some shit. And normally, historically, the administration that occupies the White House would have condemned something like that, and instead the president made room for points of view that are morally reprehensible and don't have anything to do with what the country's founded on.
I've heard that kind of faction of this right wing is very, very small, like percentage-wise. I think there's maybe 500 people like that, actual neo-Nazis in America.
But 500 people with bricks, all it takes is one guy with a fucking car. So it doesn't matter how small it is. If you're preaching hate, that's what happens. And you can't sit there and go morally equivocate and be like, well, there was on both sides. Bullshit. Nobody on the other side, no leftist took a car and drove it into a crowd of human beings. There's a woman who's fucking dead. 2 cops died because they had to patrol this inanity and this bullshit that was allowed to happen. So, yeah, when death enters the equation, and the other side is still being given voice, and their voice is like, well, we don't need the voice. We're just going to jump in a car like an ISIS agent would and weaponize a vehicle against our own brothers and sisters in the United States. It's horrible, dude. There's no longer a discussion about, well, everybody should be allowed to have their say. Hate speech has no say, not just in America and anywhere. And look where it leads to. Somebody got killed. Somebody is dead. Somebody will never live again because bunch of jackasses wanted to go down to a city they're not even from and start some shit. And those jackasses, that's not both sides. That's one side. That's the Nazis, the fascists, the Klan. It's clear as day. And in any other administration would be clear as day. But for some reason, you got one person in this administration who won't say what the country wants them to say without equivocating, without sitting there and being like, well, some of these people were about to... No. And then saying there were fine people on both sides makes you sick.
I think
I be in Vancouver for that reason. I gotta get back to work though.
Okay, thank you so much.
Good luck with the what is it called?
Press for Truth.
Keep pressing for truth.
Kevin's facts were all completely incorrect because he got all of his information from the mainstream news. And that's exactly what's happening with the Kyle Rittenhouse case. Kyle Rittenhouse has been found not guilty on all counts, a verdict that I had called right from the beginning. But this hasn't stopped the mainstream media from continuing their race war by using misinformation and propaganda. Everything the media told you about Kyle Rittenhouse was wrong. Last week's acquittal of Kyle Rittenhouse, the teenager charged with the murder of 2 men in Kenosha, Wisconsin, likely came as a shock to millions of Americans who had relied on the media to inform their understanding of the case. From the time Rittenhouse killed 2 men on the streets of Kenosha last August, media characterizations of the event suggested his conviction was a foregone conclusion. He was a troubled kid, a high school dropout who viewed law enforcement as his personal heroes, and had an affinity for guns. Many took pains to point out that he attended a rally for then-President Donald Trump. A New York Times report found that he, quote, showed strong support for officers. The Daily Beast referred to him as a fanatic. The men Rittenhouse shot in self-defense quickly became sympathetic figures. Anthony Huber, who attacked Rittenhouse with a skateboard, died doing something, quote, heroic, according to CNN, which was quoting Huber's girlfriend. In a piece that has since been edited, the network described Joseph Rosenbaum, a convicted child rapist, as somebody who would make you laugh out of nowhere. The allegations against Rittenhouse perfectly fit a dominant narrative within the corporate press that there's nothing more dangerous than a white man. This belief overshadowed the facts on the ground, coloring the resulting coverage and forcing it into rhetorical boxes that never quite fit, particularly around Trump and race. After Trump refused to condemn him, NPR told us that the president had claimed without evidence that Rittenhouse acted in self-defense. MSNBC's Joe Reed suggested that Trump's comments amounted to fomenting deadly violence and ethnic cleansing. Fact-checkers weighed in along similar lines. The Associated Press told us that Trump's assertion that Rittenhouse fled his attackers, something captured on video, was wrong and slammed him for advocating in defense of someone who opposed racial justice protesters. The Pulitzer Prize-winning PolitiFact claimed that Trump had lied when he said Rittenhouse had been pursued by a mob and was attacked. Both claims were supported at the time by video evidence. The inaccurate fact check is still online. Then there were the allegations tied to race. MSNBC speculated that the only possible explanation for the events in Kenosha was white supremacy run amok. Then presidential candidate Joe Biden went so far as to develop ads accusing Rittenhouse, absent of any evidence, of being a white supremacist. At trial, these assertions didn't materialize. No, the Washington Post admitted there wasn't any evidence tying Rittenhouse to white supremacists. And no, the gun didn't actually cross state lines, as much of the reporting around the trial suggested. No, he hadn't been the one to fire the first shot. No, even Gage Grosskreutz, the third man whom Rittenhouse shot in self-defense, admitted that Rittenhouse hadn't shot him until Grosskreutz pointed his own gun, for which he no longer had a valid concealed carry permit, at Rittenhouse. And finally, yes, Kyle Rittenhouse had been acting in self-defense. Most of the information was publicly available long before the trial, overlooked or ignored in favor of red herrings about race and the misdeeds of the former president. If Rittenhouse sues for defamation, it won't come as a shock. And one of the reasons why I'm covering this issue today is because I am no stranger to this at all. In fact, I've gone through very similar things. Last year, while covering a BLM rally, I was surrounded by a massive mob of around 150 people who were out for my blood. They incorrectly thought that I was a white supremacist. I was then violently attacked, and then the police ended up arresting me. The media publicly stated that 2 arrested at otherwise peaceful anti-racism protest in Vancouver, Vancouver police arrested 2 people for assault during an anti-racism protest Friday, but are describing them as instigators who got involved in the protest and were not representative of the otherwise peaceful event. By arresting me in the manner that they did to the cheers of that crowd and then printing that in the paper, they are incorrectly mislabeling me as the instigator here and apparently being against their anti-racist event when my over 3-hour live stream leading up to that attack shows the exact opposite. After having my GoPro stolen from me by this mob, I launched a GoFundMe campaign, but as you'll see here, Dan Dick's Kicked While Down GoFundMe campaign removed $7,000 stolen from PFT as they terminated my campaign, all based on fake news. So if you get your news solely from the mainstream media outlets, you will likely believe that the Christmas parade attack was not coming at the hands of a black supremacist racist terrorist. No, you'll believe that it was just an accident. You'll also believe that Kyle Rittenhouse is a white supremacist troublemaker, even though the verdict is in that he acted in self-defense. And you will also believe that I too am just one of these troublemakers who only goes to events to stir up trouble. My friends, please stop believing the lies. Do your due diligence and always check all of the facts for yourself. And support real independent media that counters this propaganda, like what I do here at Press for Truth. If you appreciate my efforts to bring you this information, please check the links in the description below to find out how you can either donate or join as a member. Thanks for watching, everybody. Be sure to click that thumbs up button and share this video if you found the information to be useful. And stay tuned, we've got more video reports coming soon. This is Dan Dix reporting for Press for Truth. We all want truth. The truth will set you free.